Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Zinnia Robinson. I am a nurse at Kentucky Children's Hospital, and my work assignment is not to take care of sick patients, but to work for an organization or an agency that's part of Children's Hospital called Safe Kids Fayette County. And my job is to help implement programming throughout the community, Central Kentucky, and throughout the state, just different ways to help kids avoid emergency room visits and hospital stays. So today's topic is let's make it a safe kids summer. And here we go. A little bit about who we are. As I said earlier, we are led by the Children's Hospital. We were established in 1993, and we're part of the Safe Kids Worldwide Network, which has over 400 coalitions in the state and several partners throughout the world. We're a coalition of agencies and organizations such as the health department, the fire department, police department, healthcare workers, childcare providers, you name it, anybody in any organization that's interested in protecting children from preventable injuries. We might have a partner in it. If you are interested in being a part of who we are and what we do, just let me know and we can see what you can do. So preventable injuries, this is a list of the top unintentional injuries related deaths to children that occur in the United States. As you can see, the majority is related to motor vehicle crashes. So that being said, you can imagine that most of our programming is going to be related to kids while they're on the road. Again, these first few slides are going to be just a little bit of data. And the reason why we do this is because our program is data driven. We, for example, here in Kentucky, we will not do injury prevention programming related to snowmobiles because we don't have snowmobile accidents. Instead, we do things like we'll do ATVs, we'll discuss firearms, we'll discuss other topics that are more relevant to our area. If you look at these numbers, and this is from CDC for the United States, if you look at all the preventable deaths that occur to children related to due to homicide, suicide, and cancer, and combine all those causes, it is less than when you look at all the preventable injuries. A lot of people don't think about preventable injuries as a big issue, but it is, and it doesn't get as much attention because nobody really wants to talk about prevention, but it's something that's very easy to do to prevent hospital stays and emergency room visits. So as I said earlier, being a childhood injury prevention program, our mission is to do everything that we can in our power, pool our resources so that we can keep all children, regardless of their background, their socioeconomic status, their religion, anything. It doesn't matter. Every child deserves to have an injury-free life. How do we do it? As I said earlier, our programs are data-driven. We're going to look at the research. We're going to design programs to meet that audience. Our audience ranges from preschoolers all the way up to older adults, and all in the name of just helping everybody learn more about what causes these injuries and things that they can do, that we can do to prevent them. And then, of course, we do provide a voice for the children when it comes to legislative efforts. For example, buckling up or wearing a helmet, things like that. So what I'm going to show you here, this is just a sampling of some of the programs that we do implement. A few of our slides that I'm going to show here in just a little bit will give you some of the examples of these programs. Three basic categories: at home, at play, and on the road. On the road will include in and around cars, pedestrian safety, maybe some bike safety, railroad safety, even ATV safety, off-road vehicles, that kind of stuff. Water safety, that's getting ready to be a big issue now. Not only during recreation, but also with flooding. We've been affected with a lot of flooding in our area. And one of our subcommittees is working on some educational programs to help folks be ready for the flood. Some safety tips when, there's unexpected water that rises up, because that affects everybody, not just children. So summertime, that's what this program is about, right? Here at Safe Kids, as a childhood injury prevention program, we see summertime as trauma season. That is because, kids are out. More and more kids are being, I guess, left to their own devices. They're making decisions on their own. They're with babysitters, caregivers that are not their primary caregivers. They're home alone. The days are longer. They have greater opportunity for getting hurt. The weather's awesome, so they're going to be outside. And then again, because they're not in a classroom setting, they're going to be wanting to go out and have fun, let loose, and a lot of risk-taking behaviors among all ages, not just the teenagers. And this is a list of the top summertime injuries that we see in the emergency rooms and in the hospitals. Year round, it's going to be falls. And actually, that's for pretty much all ages, from birth all the way up to adulthood, to older adults. And then this time of the year, in the summertime as well, we've got water, anything that's related to water, not just the pool, beach, or the lake, but also at water parks. And some of the newest trends or the newest activities, the latest activities that folks are doing more is the paddleboarding and kayaking and, those big giant inflatables that you'll see out on the beach. So there's all kinds of opportunities for water related injuries and death. Wheels, pedestrians, kids are out walking. Motor vehicles, of course. So we're taking long road trips. We're taking trips all the way across the country, or just down the road, or just having play dates. We're spending more time in vehicles and going from one place to the other. And then burns as well. We're doing some campouts, cookouts, grilling out, summer grilling, and then fireworks. That's also a lot of injuries in the summertime. So we're going to start about things that we can do at home. I hope that everybody has this phone number memorized, or at least programmed on your phone. This is the poison, it is the poison control number, and it is an information it's a way for folks to call without calling 911. It's important to know when it is time to call 911 versus when you just have a question about something that you or your child has ingested. Now, poison can be not just ingested, it could be topical as well. It could be in your eye, splash in your eye, or an injection like a bee sting or a snake bite. So everybody know this number. So when you're at home, we tell folks one good way to do a quote unquote child-proofing check is for young children is to get down on your hands and knees and look at the area where the babies and the children and the crawlers and the little adventurers and explorers are going to spend time. Look down there and see if you see anything that they could put in their mouth. If you see any cords that might be a trip hazard, or something that is exposed that they can stick things in, such as the plugs. When we talk about choking and strangulation risks, that includes separating play areas from the young, the toys that you have set out for the young ones, for the little ones, versus the toys and games that you have for the older ones. Because when they are mixed in and they don't have their own separate areas to play or separate the toys and the games, it increases the chances of choking. The photo that you see on the top right is to remind me that there is a kind of a newer emerging risk area that not a lot of folks have heard of, and many of you may have already heard of it. And it has to do with those little button batteries. We're using more and more of those in different devices, such as our remotes, and there are even some storybooks that will kind of talk back, that are you read it, and then it also has a voice that reads it to you. Kids will hear that. Even greeting cards will have voices on them. And those are run by little batteries. These batteries in and of themselves are very useful, but when a child swallows it, the liquid from their saliva creates an electrical current, and it causes a burn as that battery goes down their digestive tract. We're seeing more and more of these incidents, alarmingly, because we do have more of these items and devices with those batteries. It is not a choking hazard, but it is a burning hazard. And it is very hard to determine whether your child or a child has swallowed it. So we do like to remind folks that, that is also a hazard. We don't think about locking up batteries, but it is, especially those that kids can easily put in their mouth and swallow. Because remember, children explore their world, little ones especially, through their mouth. They like to taste and put things in their mouth. Just a couple other tips about how to prevent falls. And when it comes to preventing injuries related to fire and burns, every home needs to have at least one smoke detector on every floor. And if you have a fireplace or a wood stove or an attached garage, we do recommend that you may want to consider putting a carbon monoxide detector as well. Kid-free zones are great for the kitchen, the grill area, any area where the fireplace, that children might have an opportunity to be to touch. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. And of course, have a plan, an escape plan, what to do in the event of an emergency. These are just a little bit of more home safety tips. Drowning. It only takes a little bit of water to drown. Drowning occurs when water blocks your airway. So it only takes enough water to block your nose and your mouth. A lot of children don't realize this, and they think that it takes a lot of water to drown, when it actually takes just a little bit. So we do suggest that when you're done cleaning, or if you have any staining water, either in kiddie pools in the backyard, which a lot of us will, I remember I did a lot of kids will enjoy playing in those. And even the little slip and slides, just make sure everything is drained, because it does just take a little bit of water to drown. Lock access to any pool or hot tubs. If you are missing a child, we like to say, check the pool, check the hot tub, or check any place where kids like to hide, or check the car, because kids love to have fun. They're not only are they curious, but they like to play hide and seek. And when they leave your site and you can't find them, go look for the places that they might have accessed, but may not be able to get out of on their own. Firearms is big. There's been a huge increase in the number of children that have been injured or killed related to firearms. We like to remind folks that if there is a firearm in your home or in places where your child will spend time, it is okay to ask if that firearm is locked, unloaded, with the ammunition and the device itself stored separately. And then, of course, nothing replaces active supervision. Just a little bit of data. Here in Kentucky, and in many other places, we as an injury prevention program, we are not about talking about whether or not you should have a firearm. Our messaging is that if you choose to have any type of device that could be a potential cause of harm to a child, we like to make decisions to please make sure that the child does not have access of it in any way possible. Unfortunately, the numbers have gone up. If you see here, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics, the firearms are now the leading cause of death to children and youth between the ages of 0 and 24 years old. And it didn't used to be that. It used to be related to motor vehicle crashes, but now it has just skyrocketed, which is very alarming. That's why I have a separate slide just for that. And then there's a little bit more data here as well. As an aside, our education programs, our outreach programs, awareness programs also is accompanied by the distribution of safety devices. And I can talk about that a little bit more here closer to the end of my talk. We do distribute gun locks. and we write grants in order to purchase these gun locks for distribution. Another topic that's not often discussed is how more and more kids are spending time online. We all are spending more time online, and more children are left to their own devices and are not as well supervised as they probably should be online. And that has opened up a whole new page of injury prevention awareness that our coalition has tried to address, is the fact that it's an easy way for children to access content unsupervised. So it is okay as a parent or caregiver, set guidelines, take the time to go over the accounts that they have online, have full access to them, review their profiles, and set rules, be alert, work with other parents, and set rules. And it's okay. Be wary that things do happen. It is kind of scary. There are some predators out there. And unfortunately, our children are the ones that are the most vulnerable. These are two useful websites that you can go on there, and it'll help you to able to have some ideas to what to look for, signs of abuse, signs of inappropriate behavior, and what to do about it. Here are some emerging risk areas. Other than the usual causes of injury and death to children that I know you've all heard and have also considered, these are some awareness issues that we are trying to do a little bit more, because it's not often talked about, and a lot of folks don't realize that. But magnetic toys, they've been around for a while, but they're very fun and they're popular. And they're also used as a great way for children to kind of improve their manual dexterity, their ability to problem solve, to create shapes. And I personally find them kind of helps with stress, just kind of playing with them. But along with the button batteries that I referred to that can interfere with your digestion, it can also cause digestive system injuries. The way that works is when these little batteries are going down your digestive tract, they're very strong. Their magnetism is very strong, and that it can cause your intestines to be all messed up. And it really, really causes problems with your digestion. Then the fake earrings have those high-powered magnets too. And those are kind of, a little trendy in some circles. Water beads, I don't know if any of you have heard of these. They're kind of fun and they're kind of cool to watch. And what happens is when they come into contact with other water, or when the little coating dissolves, it can also expand to a large mass that can cause choking, airway obstruction, and also, again, will mess with your digestion. Vaping has been around for several years now. And the problem that we have found with the children is the little cartridges, the little liquids that causes that creates the scent and the smoke and the pleasant, a lot of those scents are very pleasant. Some of them smell like bubble gum. And the liquid itself is very concentrated, and that can be very poisonous to children because it only takes a little bit. Okay, so we're going to go out and play. Again, I mentioned this earlier about having kids play areas be separate according to their ages, and that includes in the home and also outside of the home. It is a good idea to always check on the warning labels of each toy to make sure that they're age appropriate. And then again, nothing replaces appropriate supervision. Outside, we're going to be talking about the importance of being prepared for the weather, whether it is super hot or whether it's raining and stormy. Sunscreen is very important. And then hydration is huge too. And then you've got your insect repellent and then supervision. Another thing that I did not put on here is animals, dog bites. It's very important to let kids know that not to approach a strange dog, to always ask permission before you pet a dog, because dogs are very unpredictable. All animals are unpredictable. So these are just some of a few things to consider while your child is spending time outdoors. The grill, this refers to the 3-foot kid-free zone again. Just making sure the play area is away from the grill or any cooking surface outside, campfires, that kind of stuff. And that also includes pets. And make sure that it is separate area away from the home and kids are supervised. Water safety, I didn't know, for those of you that will be spending time on the water this summer, don't know if you realize that there is a law in the state of Kentucky that requires children under the age of 12 to wear a life jacket that's approved by the U.S. Coast Guard at all times. And then there should be at least one life jacket per person that is on the boat somewhere, stashed on the boat somewhere that can be easily grabbed in the event of a water emergency. Just a few other tips. The one thing that is very useful is to learn how to swim and to teach your child how to swim. And when you are at a gathering where there will be children near water along with other adults, it's good to have what we refer to as a water watcher. Because sometimes if you're at a backyard party and there's water in the area, a pool or at a lake or something, we often sometimes think, oh, there's a lot of grown-ups here, there's going to be somebody watching my child, when in fact it's a good idea to have at least one person that's already designated, undistracted, unimpaired, that is their turn to watch the children. On the road, this is a big thing. It's very important to make sure that everybody is buckled up. All children should ride in the back seat for all rides. And that is very important because even unbuckled drivers and other passengers can be considered a projectile in the event of a crash or any type of incident. They can be a projectile and just fly out of the area and be the one to injure those that are well supervised. So safety in and around cars not only involves buckling up safely for all riders, but also making sure that kids are not left unattended in cars, that the play areas are away from vehicles, from sidewalks and driveways, and to lock up your car when it is not being used. Because remember, I said earlier, children like to play and they like to hide. If they have access to the car, they may not be able to get out on their own. Safe Kids has a very, very busy child passenger safety program and program for kids in and around cars. We have monthly car seat fitting stations where we do help you learn how to transport your children, and we call these our fitting stations, inspection stations. Our next one is actually tomorrow, and we take appointments. We like to give you a minimum of 30 minutes per seating, per car seat. It may not take you that long, and what we'll do is we will work with you one-on-one to inspect your car seat and answer any kind of questions you might have about your car seat, how it's used, any suggestions that we can make, whether your child is ready to transition out of it or any adjustments that need to be made. As you can see, they're listed up here on the left. Other than Safe Kids Fayette County, the Lexington Fire Department also has a similar service, and you would just call this number and make an appointment. And then also, a lot of folks don't realize this, but the Kentucky State Police also has, I think they have, can't remember how many police posts, but they do serve all 120 counties in the state. And then several posts will have a trained child passenger safety educator that can help you with inspecting and installing your car seat. You just need to call that police post, or you can look at this location or the little map and it'll tell you the post number. Here in Fayette County, we are with post number 12. And I think one of the main office is in Frankfort. So who's driving? We titled this because the summertime, you were gonna have more and more new inexperienced drivers, teen drivers, young drivers on the road. A lot of those drivers have gotten their learner's permit and driving with other youth. They are probably tasked for transporting younger siblings. So the more passengers that are in a young driver's, inexperienced driver's car leads to an increased risk of traffic incidents. So Kentucky has a really good, strong graduated driver's licensing program. And we also try to promote not just the GDL, but also promote safe passengers. We like to talk to kids, teens and tweeners about how to be a safe passenger, not just as a safe driver, because all passengers can contribute to how that driver is managing the vehicle. Dangers of distractions is huge. So we have all kinds of programs that addresses these safety issues. Pedestrian safety is another initiative that we have, and we do this for as young as kindergartners, you know, teaching them different ways to be safe when they're on the road, when they're walking, when they're, you know, Halloween time, crossing the street, that kind of stuff. Wheel safe refers to any type of activity that has wheels, such as bikes, scooters, skateboards. And we like to impress upon the fact that it's very important to wear a helmet for every ride, and not only to wear it, but to also have it adjusted properly. So here we go. This is the fun stuff. Our programs. So we rely on grants. I am an employee of the Children's Hospital. My job is to implement these programming. But in order to implement that program, not only do we need educational tools, but we also need safety devices to supplement the education that we provide. And we rely on grant programs to purchase things such as car seats, bike helmets, gun locks, life jackets, medicine lock bags, what else? You name it, we have an initiative that helps to educate, raise awareness, and to distribute safety devices related to that injury risk area. So this is just a sampling of some of the grant programs that we are currently implementing right now. And it's pretty exciting. If you have a specific question, or if you have a group, a club, a youth group, a parent organization, a church, anything that you would like to receive any type of educational program session, and we do things in a fun and interactive way. I love doing this stuff, and it is always tailored to the audience and the venue. Our ongoing programs, these are things we do year-round, regardless of the time of year, is of course, our car seat fitting stations that we offer every month. And we offer babysitter training courses, which are free. And we have a virtual course that we teach on the last Tuesday of each month. We just require a registration, because after you register, you will be given a Zoom link for the class. After completion of the class, all attendees will receive a survival kit, which is kind of fun. We've partnered with God's Pantry to provide some safety tips for when they distribute food for families in need. And then every month we also create a safety tip. So for falls, in May, our fall safety tip theme was "May the Force be with you." So, you know, kind of alluding to Star Wars. And then in June, we'll do some summer safety tips. And every other month, we work with the UK childbirth educator to do some grandparenting Zoom sessions. And then we also provide programs for individual agencies and organizations and schools and groups and neighborhood centers upon request. This is their flyer about our babysitters training course. If you would like a copy of this, you know, just let me know. I'll have some contact information at the end of the presentation, and I can send you this PDF. Any of the information that I've presented or am presenting is available. We do have PDFs, we have tip sheets, we have presentations. There's a lot that we do, a lot of things that we can offer, and I don't have enough time to go over each one, but I would love to tell you more about it, about any specific injury risk area or safety device distribution program that we may have. So much I haven't even been able to mention it in this presentation. The next slides are just going to be some photos of Safe Kids in Action. This is a photo of one of our babysitter training courses that we did in person. We do offer it in person as well. I personally feel like the in-person experience is a lot more fun. I mean, the virtual one is great, but the in-person, when the students actually get to touch a dummy and do hands-only CPR, and we also do a little section on Stop the Bleed. So we have this little fake limb with a big gash in it, and then we make it bleed, and then we teach the students how to, you know, pack and compress, some basics first aid. We like to pattern the course to follow the developmental stage of each child, of an age group. So if they're taking care of a child that's in elementary versus an infant, you know, they'll have different needs. So this is one of our babysitting courses, and I think we did this at Morton Middle one summer, a couple summers ago. And what you see here is one of our nursing students working with a group of kids over, I think this was at Douglas Park. We worked with Partners for Youth and did an Adopt a Park program. Here we have a young lady wearing a pair of goggles, and those are concussion goggles. And the topic at this table was the dangers of having a brain injury. So we will time the child solving this kindergarten preschool puzzle, and we'll tie them to see how long it takes them to do it with and without the goggles, thus illustrating how important it is to protect your brain. And this is another brain injury program we did at Valley Park, and what we're doing the egg drop. The kids each get an egg, and they're supposed to create a helmet to protect that egg. And once everybody has created their helmet, we all go out and we drop the helmet and the egg to see which brain or head has survived. Kids have a lot of fun with this. This one is kind of cute. This is one of our Hot Car Never Leave Your Child Alone programs in one of the parking lots. I think we worked with it was a summer event. And if you can see the thermometer, that digital thing right there on the table, it measures the temperature of what is inside the car. The car on the right has a thermometer that's measuring the temperature in the car, and then it compares the temperature outside of the car. So this was a 94-degree day, and it is, at that time, I don't remember how long the thermometer was in the car, but it was already at 120. And what the girls here are showing you is it's a s'more. So we put parts of a s'more in the dashboard of the car. And what we demonstrate is how quickly that chocolate will melt, and you're creating a s'more. So we call this event, it's s'more dangerous to leave a child unattended in a car. We are at, cannot remember the elementaries. I think this was at Cardinal Valley Elementary, and we are doing what we call a bike rodeo. And this is where children are going through a course. We don't teach children how to ride a bike, but we teach children how important it is to ride with control and to obey, you know, road signs, and to also, of course, wear a helmet. So this is a little obstacle course. We call this a bike rodeo. Here I am at William Wells Brown, and this is at one of the William Wells Brown Community Center, and this is at one of their after-school evening programs. And the topic here is, it looks like we're talking about what's safe and not safe, probably some home safety. And of course, during COVID, you see the masks. And this is one of our more recent programs that we just implemented. This is at one of the, I think it's called East Side over off Liberty Road. And these are high school students, and this is one of our Teen Impact Driver Safety course. It's another grant program, and we're just talking about the importance of being a safe driver and passenger. And the slides that she is showing has to do with the increased chance of collisions or vehicle incidents, the more distractions occur in the car. And here we are one of the UK clinics, and these are our 2 nursing students. We do have UK nursing students that join us every semester, and they help us implement our programming. And in this program, we're distributing free carbon monoxide and smoke detectors in the lobby of the clinic. And this was Safe Kids Day last year, where we were at Charles Young Community Center. And this table talks about Stop the Bleed. This is one of our trauma nurses. And what this young man is getting ready to do is put on some gloves. And this table just kind of talks about how important it is to know how to pack and bleed a bleed, stop the bleed. This is again at William Wells Brown, and the topic this day was fire safety. And these are our crew with, I don't know if some of you might know any of these folks, but this was a fun night. Our nursing students were here as well. So prevention is very easy. It is very simple. It doesn't take a lot of work. It takes more work to take care of an injured child. But prevention is easy and it can come naturally. Again, I have to reiterate that nothing can replace appropriate and active supervision. You can't buy it, and it's free. So I'm going to wrap it up by saying that it's so important to be prepared. You know, have a plan, have your smoke detector, make sure you buckle up, make sure the car is in good condition. Let folks that are going to help you take care of your child know what that plan is, where the first aid kit is, learn CPR, because most accidents can be avoided. And this is where I stop and see if anybody has any questions.